Hello, my dear students. Today's lecture in Standardization and Certification in Tourism Industry. I will introduce lecture number 14, Ethical Standards and Fair Trade Certification in Tourism. In this lecture, I will introduce firstly how ethical standards and fair trade certification in tourism industry and how it's important to the tourism industry and tourist destination. By the end of today's lecture, you can understand the concept of ethical standards and fair trends within the tourism industry, and you can identify or recognize different key elements of ethical issues which is related to the tourism, and you can identify fair trade certification programs in advance. Firstly, let me introduce to you what is it ethical standards in tourism. Ethics in tourism, it refers practice that respect the environment, culture, rights of local community or population. It includes like consideration of fairness, social justice, and ecological sustainability. And what is it? Why is important ethical standards in tourism? It's firstly, ethical standards guide business to engage in responsible practices in a responsible way, ensuring that tourism benefits local communities and respect local culture and minimize negative environmental impacts, which is also very significant for the development of tourist destination in certification way. Ethical issues in tourism. Firstly, exploration of workers in hospitality and tourism workers or sectors. And secondly, it's cultural appropriation or disrespect for local traditions. Third is environmental degradation such as pollution, over-tourism, or emission from the gas emission from the tourism. And finally, fair compensations and human rights of tourism workers. Why it's very important? Because it is establishing ethical standards helps to reduce harm, firstly, secondly, promote positive social and environmental impacts, and also build sustainable tourism models, which is very crucial. Fair trade certification in tourism, it's one of the certification program which is considered ethical consideration in tourism, and it is firstly focused on ensuring that local communities and processes which is related with tourism on tourism destinations receive fair compensations for the goods and services. It first mostly highlights equity, environmental sustainability, and respect for cultural traditions. Core principles fair trade. It's firstly fair wages, working condition for local workers. Secondly, it's community empowerment. It means that by involving local population in tourism planning or tourism development. Thirdly, environmental sustainability by supporting eco-friendly practices. And finally, cultural respect and preservation by recognizing well and valuing indigenous traditions, which is very important too. Let me now introduce to you different cases which is related with fair trade certification. Fair trade certification FTT, a South African certification program that ensures tourism businesses adhere to ethical principles promoting social justifies, firstly environmental responsibility and cultural respect. Cultural respect, it's very one of the important thing in tourism. Secondly, Green Globe certification, while it focusing on sustainability, which is also more focus on respect human rights in tourism businesses or local community which is related with tourist destination. And Final reinforced alliance certification, which is more focused on environmental sustainability. It also includes principles of trade fair and also benefits for the tourism businesses and also communities. Key ethical issues in tourism. It's firstly exploration and human rights. Secondly, environment impacts, which is also most thing in general, and cultural appropriation and sensitivity. And finally, it's animal welfare. All of them very important for the development of enhancement tourist destination or tourism business. That's why it is all of them key issues of ethical and tourism. Why it's important, and that's how it's benefits to the tourism. It's support local communities. Secondly, promote sustainable development. Thirdly, it's consumer trust and loyalty, and finally, improve business performance. All of them very important, and also advances for the fair trade certification in tourism industry. Of course, without challenge, it's not possible to integrate, to implement such certifications. It's first challenges of ethical consideration is cost and resources intensive. Secondly, lack of awarenesses or knowledge of understanding such ethicals. And finally, it's implementing consistency. It means that there may be gap between certification and actual practices. It can be different. Some business can get certification, but they don't understand proper purpose of such certifications. And cases which I already shared with you, like fair trade tourism, rainforest island certification, and ethical wildfire tourism in Kenya. In Kenya, ethical wildfire tourism practices is very supported by organization Ecotourism Kenya certification, which is emphasized fair trade and environmental sustainability and community development, which is also very significant. In conclusion, in this lecture, I explained to you what is it ethical consideration, how it's affected to the fair trade certification, and how it's integrated in tourism industry, and what types of challenges they are facing, and what types of cases I shared with you, cases and future trends. I think today's lecture was informative and useful. Today's lecture reference I shared with you, and this is additional reading list to understand properly today's lecture. And thank you for your attention. I think today's lecture was helpful and understandable. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Bye bye.